Hello and welcome back to the
In Your Mind podcast.
Hey.
Oh shit.
We're in Wombrel today, which is very exciting. We have come on a little trip with some friends, some very special humans, really. And I thought that this would be an extra special podcast. Each podcast is very special, but this is extra special because I'm sharing it with lots of people. I would love for this episode to kind of showcase some of the special humans in my life and why I think they're awesome. And I think this will show you as well why they're awesome too. I hope you really enjoy listening, and I'm really excited for them all to have their questions. I've kind of set it up by thinking about why every person is really special to me and writing a little bit about that, and then asking a question revolving around something I find really interesting about them as well, and something I'd like to learn more of, and I think that would be interesting to learn more of from them. So thanks for being here, and get into the questions.
And I'm just here to say hi. To run the show. I've hooked everything up. We're here on the Wombrel veranda.
Mm-hmm.
The deck has been newly refurbished. We're out here. A view of the ocean to the left. Green grass. We're in the sun. Well, we're not in the sun, but we're in the sun.
We're looking at the sun.
And this audio is crisp.
Well, I think we'll get the first very important special person up and see what they have to say.
See you later.
So that'll be you.
Oh.
You're here. You're a special person in this trip.
So basically what you're going to do, you're going to ask everyone who's here a question.
Mm-hmm. An individual personalized question based on something that I find really interesting about them.
Yeah.
So Brendan.
That's my name.
Your dedication and commitment to music is so inspirational. The focus and the time commitments you've been able to self-directedly do, not even just in music, but in anything you deem wholeheartedly for you, is incredible. So my question to you is, why has it felt necessary to cultivate so much discipline? What growth have you... So let's get that bit first. Well, I'll say the whole question and then you can answer it how you feel.
Okay.
Yeah. So why has it felt necessary to cultivate so much discipline? What growth have you seen from it? And is there anything you feel you miss out on because of it?
Well, because it's required in anything you do. If you want to do something, you've got to be able to follow through with what that is. And the more discipline you have, the more you're able to deploy your attention in the direction that you want. Like we were kind of talking about it last night. So like everyone has it.
So why has it been necessary for you to cultivate so much of it?
Because I want to do a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you think it's like, would you consider it like the groundwork or like the backbone for that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's only manifested in such a mechanical way for me because of the path I've chosen to take, though.
What growth have you seen from it?
A lot of different stuff. Just self-belief is the main thing. Yeah. Because if you can't control your attention or your output, then it's very easy to have doubt about whether you're going to achieve what you want or your life is going to end up where you want it to end up. So you just have a lot of peace and a lot of confidence just existing.
So that's kind of what you feel now? The growth that you've...
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
It's it's always a journey, but yeah.
And is there anything that you feel like you miss out because of it?
No, not really. As long as you're true to yourself about what you actually want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to have discipline when you have a very clear goal.
Mm.
Yeah. Because a lot of the pain is in the indecision.
The pain is in the indecision.
Yeah.
Huh. It's true. Yeah, when you're not wholeheartedly committed to something, you're like, why am I actually doing this?
Yeah, and you're like, should I go? Should I do it?
But when you have strong purpose, it's like, it might be painful, but it's like what I need. Is that?
Yeah. Well, you're just not elongating the period of pain. Like the pain, there's pain in making the decision and doing the thing, but there's also pain in waiting to make the decision. And you're just creating more pain if you delay the decision. Yeah. I hope that made sense.
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like that all leads to show that, like, it is, like, the discipline is actually, it's hard, but it's less hard than not knowing what you're doing.
A lot
if
of
you're
people,
trying to achieve
sorry.
something.
Yeah. A lot of people think discipline is confining and that you'll miss out on something. But really, discipline equals freedom. Because if you have discipline, you cut out so much of the time it takes to make a decision. Should I go to the gym? Should I eat this? Should I scroll on my phone? Should I go for a run? But if you have this discipline and you just do it, you, by proxy, just have so much more time.
I guess it just takes a while to get to the things that actually are really meaningful for you and the things that you want to be disciplined on as well.
What do you mean?
Like those things, you might want to go to the gym, you want to eat healthy, you might have like so many things that you want to achieve, but not be clear, but not committed yet to all of the things, or not fully understanding why you're wanting it or why it holds so much meaning.
Yeah.
So I think in order to be disciplined and keep the commitment, you have to have strong reason for doing the thing.
Yeah. And a lot of times, like, and I stole this from the Modern Wisdom podcast, Chris Williams said, like, as soon as you posit an ideal, you're always comparing yourself to the ideal. So no matter what you do, you're always going to fail. And that can be a big obstacle for people to overcome when they're just beginning something. Especially when you're trying to eat healthy or exercise or do all these things, because there's never, like, it's never actually a destination. And all you're ever going to do is fail along the way.
So what's a better reframing of that idea then?
Well, understanding that that is what's going to happen. All you're ever going to do is fail. You release the expectation of ever succeeding in the first place. Like, succeeding is by not giving up. And then just starting super small. That's what I've had to do with my 2-minute runs. Like, quite literally, you have to start at the smallest conceivable place that you think you can do without a doubt, even if that means a 2-minute run. I've just been incrementally increasing it by 30 seconds every day. Could I do that? Bro, it's the easiest thing in the world. And then all of a sudden, I'm back. I'm back, baby. Momentum builds. And then you create the discipline.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
My pleasure, treasure.
I appreciate it.
Looking forward to the rest of it.
Yeah. Thank you for starting us off.
Thank you.
Hello.
Welcome, Jemma.
Thank you very much. Thank you for welcoming me.
Thank you for being here. I'm a very special human.
Oh, right back at you, my love.
Thanks, love.
The specialist.
Oh. So, Jemma, Your ability to uplift the people around you in putting so much energy is so eye-widening to me and feels like such a superpower. Do you feel you've always had this gift? And does it ever feel like a detriment?
First, thank you. That's a very, very special reflection. How do I feel about my ability to hold space for people and uplift them? I don't think I've always had that ability. I maybe unconsciously had it, for sure. Like a natural like urge to want to look after my friends and look out for them, and like loyalty was a big thing that I like connected with as a kid growing up. And I felt like that was a big value for me. Particularly because I'm a Taurus, and that was just something that like I felt like I connected with a lot about, like the Taurian energy is like loyalty to my friends. I think then at a certain point when I became a bit more conscious of like my impact on myself and people and of my mind and my influence and my control over my environment, I started to realize that that was something that I really wanted to be intentional about, like trying to offer people is like a space for them and like be a space for people. And it's still a huge part of my journey now. Trying to reconnect with that often, because I definitely slip out of that sometimes when I get into like phases where I'm a bit more like self-oriented or self-aware, and I want to be other aware, like aware of other as much as I can, because I think it's healing for both me and other people, and like really brings us back to like safety and like freedom for authentic self-expression as well when you're in that space of safety.
Do you feel like at any point it does the opposite for you?
Yeah. Potentially. I think maybe if that's always my intention, and when it's not received, or like, yeah, I would just say when it's not received, and like I kind of extend out the olive branch, and the olive branch is like snapped, or the olives aren't picked.
For sure.
Then there's times when it can then end up actually being counterproductive, and I then go back to like self-awareness rather than other awareness when I'm trying to go like, other, how are you feeling, or like extending love, like a place for like them to feel good. Instead it can then like cause me to be aware of self and kind of lead into like insecurity or whatever if I start to feel like, oh, why won't they accept that, or kind of look into that as that way, like fall into like that kind of thought pattern, unhealthy thought pattern, rather than just continuing to stay in my power and what I can offer other people, and like just recognizing that the olives weren't wanted there, and that's okay, they can be shared elsewhere, and like finding somewhere else for them to land, or sometimes just reconnecting with my own space and what I need in a certain moment, and like being content with just myself and not trying to offer others something all the time, maybe. Or potentially there's points where it is landing, like the alternative is where it's landing in a lot of places and being received in a lot of places, to the point when in the moment I'm not recognizing it's draining my energy, but then after the fact I might have some days when I'm with myself where I feel a bit lost and I'm questioning things and whatever, and it might have come from giving away too much. I don't know. I'm still working that out for sure.
But do you feel like your natural state or tendency is to try and focus on other and feel like you're giving?
I think so.
In that way?
I think so. I think when I'm in my highest alignment, yes. It depends which state I'm in. If I'm in like if I'm in a state where my energy is being controlled by other things, I think that's when I give less to others, because I'm focused on like what's impacting me in my world, like, I don't know, an assignment or a responsibility or something I need to get done, or
Yeah.
worrying about like what someone wants me to do, or whatever like other expectations I have or needs or whatever, then I find it hard sometimes to return to like other and what they need and create space for that. So in those situations, my natural state is not to give to other, but I prefer when I can get out of like my mind being consumed by all these other energy drainers, and when I can like be in my own energy and have enough energy to then overflow into others. That's when it feels the best, for sure.
Totally.
And when I have my own energy and enough to overflow, I do usually, my natural urge then is definitely to give it to others and like share it, and then it helps kind of my energy continue to overflow. It's like a really beautiful thing.
Yeah. That's nice. It's beautiful reflections and a beautiful way that you've come to see the world and like yourself and what you can give, but then also what it gives you and a way of being. So yeah, and I really do feel like it's such a superpower you have, because like I feel like so much you do give energy out there, and how much it can like reverberate around as well and like uplift. And I feel like for me watching you, I'm like, oh, that's her gift. Like that's something that has always been within her, or like, but it's also interesting to hear that like you think it's more of, maybe it's something that you always had within you, but something you've
realized
more and more recently.
I think also you just like stimulated some further like reflection on that. I think some of it is like also like freedom I've had more freedom to find and explore and like discover more of that in myself through adulthood, because as a kid you might have all these gifts and like ways that like beautiful things about yourself that sometimes aren't appreciated in your environment that you're given in school or your group of friends that you're initially around. And I loved my friends and my friends were great, but you're all kind of just like there with each other and you're individuals and you have all these individual things to offer. And it's not until you kind of like go with yourself and let yourself find the people that like in adulthood who all also know each other and their gifts and whatever, that you then start to be you then start to recognize and flourish, recognize your gifts more and let them flourish. Yeah, I think
It's beautiful. Yeah. So everyone's finding their little superpowers, and you're trying to be around people that like celebrate those like little gifts and know their gifts in that way.
Yes. Rather than like celebrate like individuality and unity rather than separateness and individuality. Separateness and I guess just find like sometimes seek separation. When you're growing up, a lot of the time we're trying to find ways to be separate from one another, like that person's not like me in this way, or they have this and it's really annoying and whatever, rather than going like, actually they have these other things that are really amazing and I can learn from those, and the things that make us different are actually opportunities to learn, rather than needing to be like fuel for judgment and like I said, separation.
It's really clear in my head of what you've said.
The things that make us different are the things like that allow us to learn more and gain more wisdom, rather than needing to be something that just separation. Like I keep coming back to that. I can't really I think it's the best word to describe it. Like we don't need to like see each other as different and be afraid of that.
It's an opportunity to learn and to grow. For sure.
And find further understanding, rather than use it as
further separation
and misunderstanding. And
thank you so much. That was so beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you're here.
You're beautiful.
And that you're in this space and that you're with all these special humans.
I'm so happy to be here. It's been really, really nice to chat with everyone who's all like here. This is such a celebration of individuality, and like we're all like coming together through you. I think you also similarly have beautiful powers to connect people and like see people and want to bring people together.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And it's really nice to be here connecting with all these different people and trying to give space to like understand each person even within the group dynamic and like figure out what everyone's like special takes are on the world and life and unique sources of knowledge, little libraries.
Totally. Best way to learn as well. Connection.
Through people.
People
are my library.
Totally.
Humanity is my library. People are my libraries. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jemma. So this is Wasan.
Hello.
Thanks for being here.
Of course.
So you're really special to me because I met you through being so confident and trusting in your intuition. To dance with me unapologetically, you. Voicing and acting on what you felt and feel. So my question is, how did you get to a place of feeling confident enough to ask a stranger if you can copy their moves? So for a little backstory, at Lost Paradise, I met Wasan and I was just like dancing. A lot of my eyes like closed for most of it. And then I felt like a little human behind me. I was like, oh, I think someone wants to get past me, but I'm not really sure. So I'll just like, every now and again, I was like, you could like, trying to like make space. And then I realized there was a person behind there. And then she was like, hey, I'm just copying your moves. Is that okay? I'm like, oh shit, okay, yeah, that's all good. But then I was like, okay, what are even my moves? Like, and then I was thinking about my moves, but it was like a whole journey within itself. But really, I was just like so impressed that somebody could be there and just be like, hey, like, I like your moves. Can I copy you? Like, that took a lot of confidence. And I was like, wow, what a special human she is. Yeah. Let's put it a little bit.
I feel like I get motivated by something that I see that is very beautiful, and I'm like I want to approach this beautiful light. Like, I feel like I get this strong intuition about people or about like, especially dance. Dance really motivates me. So I saw the way you dance and I was like, this is very beautiful. It's very artistic. And it's like you are very in sync with the music. And I was like, I want it. Like, I want to dance next to her. Like, this is so good. So, and I don't know, I feel like I'm very like extroverted. I like just going to people and talk. Like, sometimes I get that. It's like, you gotta like shy and like get yourself away. But then I was like, I'm gonna miss out.
Yeah.
I don't want to miss out. Like, you know, and I feel like it was so good I'm like so glad and happy that I came and like danced next to you because like, this is a beautiful connection.
It is a beautiful connection, but I think like your ability to see that, oh my gosh, that's a person that I want to connect with and I know I could connect with. Like, I feel like we talked a little bit about this, but like it's like amazing to me that your confidence and your ability to be like, that person, I know I could be friends with them. I know that we're one and the same. And like, that was just so beautiful. But like, how do you think you got to a place to like be able to even like trust that and
I always
know
trust
that?
my intuition.
You always trust it.
I feel like now I don't know what I'm remembering when I was 6 or 7, when I was in the streets and I was just like, I would like that or I want to do that. I feel like being born in Iraq. I don't know. I was truly myself. Like, there was no actual rules.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like my mom wouldn't put us, oh, you have to act that way or you do act that. Mine was like, act however you want to fucking act. I don't care.
Yeah.
And like, my dad was a bit more opposite, like you know, a bit more rules. But like, my mom was like, you like that dress? Wear that dress. We're gonna go to that function. Yeah. You like.
So you had the freedom to choose.
There was no rules. Like, you just do whatever. And then I walk in the streets and like we had like a bit of neighborhoods in Iraq as well, where like you connect with the kids of the neighborhood. Yeah. And then you go like it's a new kid you have never met before. Like, hey, you want to like explore this haunted house? Yeah. and then you're like, we all go as a group and like you don't know a lot of the people there. And then you just connect and like go explore haunted places and like it's so scary to even explore with your best mates, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, I feel like where I grew up and it's just my dynamics with the connection with other people that I had, especially like my mom, and I don't know, I had a lot of sisters as well. It's just like you gotta like be strong.
Yeah.
So
totally.
yeah, I think maybe that's why. But there's also like an urge when I see something that I'm like, I don't know. Like sometimes I feel like this question, part of it is I have not the full answers for it.
It's okay.
So,
It's just it's a place
yeah.
to start the conversation.
Exactly. So I'm like just like
Yeah.
seeing where it's from maybe, but like
Yeah.
when I like I really like connected with your dance moves, and I was like, I don't know. I was just like, I just walked without even. I was dancing with a group of people, and I was just left everyone. I was like,
Yeah.
I like your moves. I'm just gonna dance here.
Yeah.
And then you're like, you meditate. I know, and I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And then you just started speaking, and I'm like, bro, that is like, we're gonna be friends. Yeah, I know it. It's like, yeah. I feel like,
Wow.
yeah, we got like brought up by Lost Paradise, I think.
So it's interesting that you feel like that's a skill that you've always kind of had, or like a confidence that you've always had, of like you've kind of needed as well, like just your lifestyle and your experience and your environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it feels like not the norm in Sydney. So
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
crazy then to like experience that, of like somebody coming up and be like, yeah, I'm just gonna follow your dance moves.
Yeah.
And I love it because I think it allows people around me and me, like, first of all, it allows me to be like, oh shit, like you can do that. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to say, like, especially if they're all things of like kindness and love and coming from a place of that. It's like, yeah, just express it.
Yeah.
So
I love doing that.
That was really healing as well for me,
you.
just to be like, oh my gosh, this woman that like can just be like confident enough to like do this. Like I have a lot to learn from her.
So
I have a lot
got
to
a lot to
learn.
learn from you. Like I feel like, I don't know, you're very, very, very gentle, like the water. You're very connected to water. And you're gentle. There's a reason you're connected to water. And like that's what we're talking about with me and Jemma. Like we really love how gentle like you are. Like you're very like gentle. In a way that's like, I don't know, like you put space and you just know how it's like waves. You know, the wave of the water. Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Do you resonate with that?
Yeah, I definitely do. But I also feel like the water, as soon as I think that I've understood the water or the surf, or like I'm like, yeah, like I understand you in some way, I feel like it has a way of teaching me that I will never fully understand.
I feel like that's with you too. I feel like there's a lot of depth to you as well. That's the thing. There's like, I feel like that's the journey that you're having with yourself. I don't know why. Like that's what it gives me. That's like you're trying to understand a lot in there and stuff, and then there's something new that comes up, and you're like, what was that? And it's like the
Definitely.
water, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh yeah. I know it. I can see it from your eyes.
Oh no. What is she seeing?
Beautiful things that I get. Like it's good things. Good
Okay.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, because I do also think the water can be like really powerful at times and test your strength.
Yeah.
And sometimes I finish feeling a little violated because I'm like, I thought we had this connection. Like I thought water, like I thought like I knew your ways, like I know.
Yeah.
And I still, like, I don't know, like when you dive under the water and under a wave and it's really big, you like, I feel like you have to grab the sand, you have to hold your breath, you have to, like, there's processes and all those things I'm like, I hold on to. But even so, if you're following those rules, you still can be taken for a ride and taken for a spin. Yeah. Yeah, but this isn't about me. This is about you.
Okay. It's gonna be about both.
Yeah.
It's because it goes both ways. I feel like that's what I could. Okay, this is something that I've noticed about the connection that I have with you. It goes both ways. Have you noticed this? It's both people giving.
Yes.
You
Yes.
noticed this, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like I've just not like I like finding these kind of connections because like you are a giving person. I love to give as well.
Yeah,
But
you're a giving person.
we need to also like activate. I don't like to use the word need. What do I use?
What?
Like,
What? Need? Not? Would like?
would like to also activate the receiving part of it as well, and we like receiving as well. Like it should be
Yes.
like receiving and giving, you know.
Definitely, yeah.
And I feel like I find that with you, and it's very like a loving dynamic as well. Like there's a lot of like even in the house, like there's a lot of love from each party. There's also
Yes.
everyone is giving that love. It's not only about taking, and I'm like
Yeah.
I really like this. Like this is how it's supposed to be.
Definitely.
You know, it's very healthy.
Yeah, I think it's because everybody here, I feel like, can hold space,
Yeah.
and everybody here, it seems to me, knows that everyone has something special, and that Jemma before was kind of talking about. I've been loving like exploring the treasures within every person, and understanding as well that there is like there's a whole world within every human that we meet.
Yeah.
And I feel like these are really special humans, and that and open humans, and humans that are at a place that they can like then express some of the journeys that they've been on. So it's like also really helpful for us, for ourselves, to learn from everybody. Yeah.
Because we are all like different rays of the universe. Everyone is a different expression of how the universe manifests itself. Like for example, I listen to someone else. It's like I get amazed, but I'm not surprised. You know, like
Yeah.
have you know the feeling? Like
Yeah.
when like for example, Jemma's speaking about her journeys in Peru and other things, that I'm like I'm so inspired, but
Yeah.
in a way, parts of me know this exists already.
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause I feel like with different manifestation of the same kind of thing. And I feel like when you talk about this water, I feel like I already know like how like you have that like connection with the water, because like
Yeah.
you're a different ray of like the universe, but it's like you're not too far from me, and I'm not too far from you, and we're not too far from Jemma, we're not too far from others.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
it's all like
We're one and the same.
exactly. And I love this. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Wasan.
Of course.
Thank you. Thank you for being here,
Of
and thank you for
course.
sharing.
Yeah, of course. Always.
Here we have Murray. So Murray, I'm drawn and have always been drawn to your energy because it feels like you go towards adventure and experience with a seemingly fearless approach. Do you feel like this is something you learned from someone, or a mental framework you reached on your own accord?
Jeez. Being fearless, I mean, you can never quite be fully fearless. But I think it's always healthy to challenge that fear and actually put yourself in those uncomfortable situations, like even if it's like a physically, more dangerous space. And that, I think humans need to be put in like an element of fear, like physical fear every now and then. To really kind of makes everyday activities you do that you can get stressed or worked up about, like it makes them feel easier, because you're like, oh, like I'm not in actually any danger here, so why should I be worried about what's happening right now? And I think pushing yourself to actually feel scared at times really
is
helps
helpful.
with that.
So is that something you've just come up with on your own accord or through life experience? Or was there an experience where you're like, oh, okay, I really need to just go towards fear? Or was it just something you always kind of knew?
I don't know. I think it's some people are just drawn to it and some people aren't, I guess. But I think for me, that's an element in life which I feel is that you've got to explore and you've got to challenge that. And if I feel like it's within me that if I don't do that, I'd feel like I haven't made the most of, the time you have.
Yeah.
So whether you have like goals in like career-wise, or you have goals in like a social setting, you can also have goals in like what do I want to achieve in in just an adventure standpoint, and you're like, oh, if I haven't done that adventure and you haven't taken that risk, then, have you made this time you have the most valuable and impactful for yourself?
So you think by being fearless, you're getting more out of life?
Well, there's just like going towards that fear and potentially taking that risk. I think, well, like a quote which, like I was in year 9 frothing over, there's some climber guy I saw, and he's like, oh, there's two main risks in life. There's risking too much. Yeah. But he's like, oh, I'm way more scared of risking too little in life. Yeah. So which I often like go towards what's comfortable, which is something that I've got to work on. Yeah. But yeah, just going back to like, oh, if you don't take that risk, then that's another, then you risk like doing nothing in your life. So. Yeah, just being stagnant, staying still, not growing. So it's like that's the choice you make. Yeah. So how has this approach been of benefit to you so far? You've kind of said that, just like, yeah. Is there anything you want to add on that? I don't know. Just there's a big sense of satisfaction and looking back at places you've been and be like, oh fuck yeah, I did that. I think. Does it make other elements of your life easier? Well, it gives you confidence in other circles. So you achieve a goal in one part of life, and you're like, you tried something out and you gave something a go. Like, it can give you confidence in, oh, I can have a go with doing something else. Yeah, instead of shying away from, an idea you have or something you want to do. That quote is something you're going to keep coming back to throughout your life? I hope. Yeah. I hope so. I feel like it's a pretty exciting life if that's like how you're coming out of it. The framework you're working within is like, well, I could be here right now and I could just keep doing what I'm doing, or I could go and try abseiling, or I could go and try climb this mountain, or like, yeah. And you can look back on memories and moments and be stoked that you've done a lot of things. What's the biggest thing you feel like was something the scariest thing that you went towards and it paid off? Something that made you really scared, but you're like, oh, I'm just going to do it. I think I guess with all the crew that were over in South America, like climbing a mountain in Bolivia called Wasan Potosi. So that was cool as a whole group, like experiencing it with everyone, like training and working towards trying to make the summit of that mountain. And then like going through with it and and with all the boys making it to the top. Yeah. Yeah, it was very special. So that was definitely a payoff. And because like a mountaineering something that at least I looked at when I was in 14 or 15 and watching all those documentaries and like, oh fuck yeah, I want to do some of that. Yeah. And then getting to experience that. Yeah. I think that's definitely a highlight of last year. Yeah, something that paid off. Yeah. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Sick. Thank you. And thanks for being in this special place. Yeah. Like, you're a human that I find so incredible, and I feel like I have a lot to learn from you and your way of being and going towards adventure. And I'm glad that you're in this space. Well, as you do, even more than anyone. So I don't know about more than anyone, but no. Yeah, but I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for being here, and thanks for being my friend. Yeah. You're so cool. Okay. Welcome, Sarah.
Oh, thank you.
So, your genuine care and curiosity about others' lives seems to me so pronounced in so many conversations. Do you find this useful for your own life? And how does what you learn impact and influence your own life?
I do. And you know what I think it is the most for me is the way people talk. I feel like I take away,
just put it a little bit closer.
Oh, yeah.
Like there. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
Now
you.
now you can relax.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like I take away like I like to listen to how people word things, and like I like to try and word things better. Like when I talk to other people, because like talking to you, or like talking to Jemma, or like even my friend Christina, like you guys tend to word things so nicely, and I feel like the conversation's so smooth, and like I don't take that, like I don't, you know, there are certain people who I just like, oh, like I'll talk however I want, but there are some other people who I like to like try and use that in conversation.
Yeah.
And I feel like even talking softer as well, just like more calm. It's nice, you know. It's relaxing. It's not like I'm on edge.
Yeah.
I feel like I can chill out.
That's cool. That's something that you've noticed and that you like actively look at and be like, oh, what can I learn, and through the conversation. Like I think that's something I also experience in others, is like how is their energy or the way that they're speaking affecting me, and if I really like that or if I don't really like that, or what energy it's bringing, and just how different it is. And yeah, that's really cool that you're drawn to that.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people here are very much on the same level with how they speak and how they word things, which I like. I feel like even last night, just listening to a few conversations, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I could try and speak like that. Even just like learning, like I feel like my mind is constantly expanding, like talking to like you or like anyone else in this house, like because you all know so much, and I feel like my knowledge is just expanding so much. Even this morning when like Jemma's showing me her app on meditation and whatnot, I feel like even from that conversation I'm going to learn so much, just even by like using that in my everyday life.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to continue to learn.
Yeah. But it's also beautiful that you have the intention, and like you're like, oh, I can learn so much from these people, and I want to learn from so much from these people. Like that's something that I feel like have to go into conversations beforehand kind of thinking about, and it also requires a level of like humbleness to be like, oh, I know you have things that I want to learn from, and like I think that's a beautiful quality that you have, and that I feel like I can learn from a lot, is like that everyone has their unique gifts, and like that we can learn so much from other people, but it feels like something that you do so like easily and effortlessly, and it's something really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's nice. I feel like everyone's got something to offer, you know, something different, you know, and I think that's what makes like things exciting. You know, if everyone was the same, it'd be a little bit like boring and dull, but everyone's got like different things to offer, different things to talk about, and that's what I think's fun about it, is that you're not just having like that same conversation, you're having many conversations, and you're learning different things. And like even with Murray, I feel like I'm learning something new every day. That man's putting a new fact on the table every day, and I'm like, oh, I'm taking that one on board. Wow. So yeah, it's good. I enjoy it, and just like I can bring something different to the table as well.
Definitely.
You know? And I can teach people other things, and you know, my hobbies and whatnot. So yeah,
it's beautiful. But I also think like your ability to hold space for others because you're trying to learn from them is like really amazing, and it also requires like a level of, I guess I said it before, but being humble, or being like taking a step back and like listening, and then like I also feel like you find lots of questions as well and can really direct the conversation because you're like pulling out all these interests that you have in it as well, and it makes me even feel like more curious about whatever we're talking about. So
thanks, Kira. That's really sweet.
Yeah. So how do you think what you've learnt in the past few years influenced your own life from the people around you?
Yeah, well, I was very different. I was a very different Sarah. Well, I think what was it? How has what I've learned from other people influenced my own life?
Yeah, in like the last few years, like, do you think you've changed much, or like, yeah, what have you been learning?
Yeah, I feel like I'm the Sarah now that old Sarah always wanted to kind of be.
Oh.
So like maybe Sarah in year 12,
Mm-hmm.
I like who I wanted to be in year 12, I am now. Like,
Oh.
and I think it's been really nice, like meeting, like Murray, and you know he's so adventurous and he wants to, you know, like go off and do things that other people haven't and whatnot. And I think that's like, I've always been adventurous and I've always wanted to travel, and I think I just needed someone like that to kind of give me that little push to be like, oh yes, like let's go do it.
Yeah.
I think old Sarah was a little bit like, oh, like I'm leaving home kind of thing, like
Yeah.
oh, like I'm scared to kind of go out of my comfort zone, but you know, like he's opened so many doors for me. And I think that's really helped me grow as a person. And I've like, especially traveling for so long, I learned so much about myself, and I like, oh, how do I describe it? Like I figured out so much, and I'm using that from traveling, even just from meeting other people, like meeting people in my travels, like having conversations with different people. Like I've figured out so much, and I've had so much within myself. Like I've had so many chats with myself in my brain that now it's like, okay, I need to make that a reality. And I feel like, yeah, like talking to people like you and talking to like everyone here, I'm feeling even more inspired to like, like practice like meditation more, and, you know, sit with myself more and whatnot. But I'm so excited to create. So I feel like I'm just rambling on.
No.
I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore.
No. Yeah, you're doing so
thank
well.
you.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I feel like it was traveling that I had to go for that big trip to like realize a lot about myself. I feel like if I didn't go on that trip, like I wouldn't be where I am today. You know, like my mindset, maybe. Like my mindset is so different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
But yeah.
Yeah. So you feel like you're finding the people who help realize things about yourself, and like the experiences that you've had has been realizing more about yourself and what you want. And then you now feel like you're in a time where you're pulling those pieces together.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And I could see that with the hair and with the jewelry, and like you're making all of these ideas into like manifested actual, you know, things in front of you. So it's really cool to see, and it's also really inspiring because it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, we get one thing, we can talk about things and think, oh, this is really great and this is really great, and that's definitely the first aspect. But then also to see it come to fruition, like you're one of those people that are like, okay, she was just talking about this a couple months ago and now she's doing it. Like,
literally, and that's
amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that's so sweet. But that's like my mindset. My mindset is, I tell people I'm gonna do this. And then I've got to. Yeah. Because I feel like it's one thing to be in your mind about something, but then to say it out loud is kind of making it like it's making it more real. Because it's like, it can be in your mind and you think about it and then that thought can pass. But to actually speak up about it and make it like a real thing and be like, oh, I'm going to do this. Yeah. And then I think like, oh, I've told all these people that I'm going to do this. If I don't, that's a bit embarrassing on my behalf. So I feel like it's like another little push to be like, okay, I want to do this. I'm going to do this. I've told people I'm going to do this. Yeah. So I'm going to do it. Yeah. You know? And I actually have never felt so good. Like, I don't know, like, yes, I was feeling a little bit down in the dumps earlier this week and I was like, oh, like, what am I doing with my life? But I feel like I've got so much control over my life right now and I'm feeling really good. Like, I feel so good. like, I don't even know how to describe how good I feel. But
Well, you've been making jewelry, like you've been going towards your dreams and like creating them. Like she's been like making jewelry. I remember like last time we chatted when we were at the jazz club and you were talking about how you went into like these jewelry stores and was like, hey, like I want to work here.
yeah,
Like, you know, like going after exactly what you want and knowing exactly what you want and then like actually doing it as well is like so huge. So it's like beautiful to see, and it's great to have another example of a person
Aw,
doing that, because I think if
you.
I surrounding myself with people like that, it's like, oh yeah, we're allowed to do that, and that's how we should operate as well. It's like what we should do. But sometimes you're like, oh, but why me? Like, why do I think I could be deserving of that? Or you can sometimes, like, I find myself like belittling myself a little bit, and which I think is a normal experience, because we're all just like, oh, that seems scary, like
to
but
take that leap.
Definitely. But it's like nice to have people like you in my corner. Okay, we can do it, you know.
Literally.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that I've realized a lot, like through traveling. The only person who's going to make you do anything is yourself.
Fully.
You know, like no one's going to get that jewelry job for me. Like I've got to go and put my name out there, and you know what's meant to be will be. And I guess the only person who's going to make jewelry is going to be, like, no one's going to make the jewelry for me. Like, I have to do it.
Yeah.
And I guess, like, once you realize that, it's very much like, okay, you get into that mindset where it's like, okay, like, if I want to do it, I've got to do it. You know what I mean? And
it sounds like you're taking control of your life.
I've got it. I'm like,
grabbing it.
I've got it. And I think, you know, what's the best feeling ever, which I think has made me really excited, is once you've made a few things. Like I've got like a few like feather clips, and I've got maybe like 5 pieces now. And I lay it all out and I'm like, I get so excited. I'm like, I can envision it. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is going to be like so fun. Like even like all the love I've gotten so far of things, like even things I haven't even finished. Yeah. Or like 3 clips I've made. Everyone's like, wow, like so sick. And I'm just like, I know, I'm thriving.
That's amazing.
I love it. And I'm so excited. And I'm so excited to share it with people, you know? And I feel like people are keen to see, which
100%.
I think
it's
is,
creation, which is so inspiring, because I feel like
thank you.
It takes a lot to actually, kind of what I was saying before, like make things into a fruition, and to actually have like a product or a tangible thing of being like, look, I've put time and effort into this, and this is what I've created.
Literally.
And it's really beautiful to see, and so exciting, because it's like, oh my gosh, like you've put so much energy, creation, time into that, and that's a celebration, and it's beautiful.
Oh, I know, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I feel like life is so good right now. Yeah. If I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. So good.
Yay, thank you.
Thriving.
Yay for thriving. Finally. But I think it's just nice to finally, like, you know, traveling for so long and talking about it. Like, you can't really do it when you're traveling. But to be home and to be, like, to have you know, like I finally figured out a space. It's in my room. It's not ideal, but
it's okay.
To have that like area where I can leave my mess on my table and I can just go back to it whenever I feel. Yeah. It's a bit more like doable instead of like, oh, I'm in Bolivia and I'm talking about wanting to do it, but I actually can't do it. Yeah. But so
finally having the tools and the space to like make those dreams a reality.
And to have a nice support system too. Like I feel like everyone's so supportive. Yeah. My family's really supportive. So it's nice to have people who believe in you. You know, it's a bit more like, I feel even more inspired. You know, like,
That's so good. Thank you so much for sharing.
Oh no, thank you.
And thank you for being here.
Oh no.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for sprinkling your magic into this house and into these people that are here.
Oh. Well, I've just been given just as much magic back, so
I'm glad.
You know. Oh, I'm glad. Thanks, Kira.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ooh. We've got Steph here.
What am I in for here?
Ooh. I'm excited for your question.
Oh, no.
No pressure. Okay. Steph, when I think of you, I think of such a grounded, sturdy, and calm archetype. It feels like you have an incredible ability to listen and digest information and deeply consider it. This feels almost opposing to techno music in in the way it can be so high energy and chaotic at times.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you feel this is true for you, and what draws you to techno?
Ooh, that is a spicy question right there.
Because I was like, I've really been thinking about it a lot. I'm like, you're such a grounded, like, calm human.
Okay.
And then to be like drawn to something so chaotic and loud, it feels wild.
Feels wild.
It feels, yeah, I wonder,
Why do I like it?
yeah, what draws you there?
I think it's just like it's got like energy, like a really like high energy, you know. And maybe it's not quite in my head, and maybe actually, you know what? Actually, it is a lot of the time, but still.
What do you
like,
mean in your head?
Like, I think I've architected my life in a way that I want it to be like that, where it is calm-ish. And like to like reduce a lot of stress and everything, but I think that like high energy music's also like it kind of like gives you I don't know I just like dancing to it. I think I think it's more like it's like what was the question, sorry? It's more so like, why do I like it, or why do I enjoy it? Or
Like, do you feel that it's true that it can be high energy and chaotic at times, and what draws you to it?
I don't know. I don't actually think it's very chaotic. I think it's very stimulating, which is kind of like an order in some way, I think. I wouldn't say it's necessarily like all over the place. It's got a kind of like order to it. It's not. I wouldn't say it's like really like loose kind of music.
Yeah.
It's quite like
Ordered.
You know, it's quite. You know.
Yeah. Rhythmic.
It's like really like intense. Like depends what you listen to, obviously, but like if you, I would say that.
And why are you drawn to that?
Because I think it kind of like is like an extra motivator to something possibly, or like it gives it. Yeah, I think it's just energy. It's like a high energy thing, like, and I always like more energy, right? More energy.
Yeah.
Because I think like if I do a lot, like you need more energy, and like if I were to listen to a lot quieter music, I don't think it gets you going as much, right? But if I want to do a lot of things, if you want to go out and dance really, like, you know.
So is the main call for listening to it because you want to move?
Yeah.
And because you want
I want to move. I want to go, like, just like go.
Yeah.
Like go. You know?
Go!
Yeah, like go. I guess that's what draws it to me. It's like, it kind of makes you want to go. Like run. Like,
yeah.
So fast. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
It's not really like but obviously it's not all the time I want to be like that though. It's like only, there's like times where I don't listen to it very often, and sometimes like where I listen to it a lot, you know? But yeah, for sure.
How do you think it helps your life in a holistic lens? Like going to shows here and there?
I think it's good because it kind of like, it's definitely like a contrast to the way I normally live, and also it kind of like opens you up a bit more instead of just being in like one lane and you're like stuck doing one thing. If you go to like a show, go a bit of dancing, go do this, go do that. I think it's good. It's like a good because like you kind of get like looped in your head. Like if you become like a bit calcified. Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to avoid that.
You want to avoid that. It's kind of like a good like hammer.
Yeah. Yeah. Shatter the hammer.
A bit of a hammer, and then you can kind of like step back. You're like, okay, a couple things I could change, reflect on, and then yeah.
And you think the dancing helps with like feeling what you want to change and reflect on?
I think maybe it just like opens you up to do that. Because like in the moment, I don't think I'm thinking very deeply, possibly.
Right.
But like maybe, I mean, there's been times where I don't know. There was this one time at Lost Paradise when we were dancing to that. It wasn't really techno, that one. There was that like one of the first gigs there. It was like really amazing though. It took you on like a bit of a journey, and you kind of like, yeah, had a really good experience with that and thought a lot around that.
Is there any lessons that you've taken away from going to music and gigs that feel like really strong to you?
I think I learned something every time.
Something new every time. Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's like a one time there was this one thing
Yeah.
that like, you know, I think it's, yeah. Yeah, sure. Enjoy it.
Yeah. I feel like you had a when we arrived at Lost Paradise, or even when we arrived at Lost Paradise, I think you were like, oh, I'm excited to be out and like away from like work and like that side of things. So I think, but I guess maybe that wasn't just being there to listen to the music. It was also about the other experiences of what it brought that you were drawn to and that you felt like you might have needed, because you were talking about like, I don't know, you talk about work as like good but like can be stressful, and then going dancing, I guess like kind of what you said is like an opposing thing to that and gets you out of that mentality. And yeah
it kind of breaks down the structures in your head about what you I don't know, you can like build up a lot of just like stressful thought and like layered stressful thought, which can kind of just like make you like super tense and everything like that. And obviously I'm not saying anything new or anything like that, but that's what I believe. It's like you can kind of like just like dissolve that a bit, so then you can kind of actually think properly. And like, yeah.
So you don't think techno's chaotic? It's rhythmic.
Yeah. Stimulating.
It's stimulating.
Yeah.
And you're drawn to it mainly because it's something that opposes.
Well, it gives you energy.
Regular life.
I'd say it's real energetic. I'd say, yeah, because, okay, if you do a lot of things, you need more energy to sustain like just a baseline, right? Or just like a productive baseline. Like you can obviously be overstimulated, like it. Like, yeah, but like, yeah, it depends what your lifestyle, I guess. Yeah, because I think if you're doing a lot, you need more to keep going, I think.
And you think it gives you like a input or a download of energy that kind of sustains you over time?
Yeah, kind of like it actually. I feel like it actually changes your mind a little bit to just be more systematic in the way that you are, and less like I think it actually like depersonalizes you, honestly. Like it kind of just like turns you into the music sort of, and just to like make you go. Obviously that's good in some circumstances, but other times where it's like, I don't know, it's really not good for like talking to people, because because you kind of just like if you're just, I don't know, if you're like a robot, it's hard to like talk to people, you know what I mean? But like you kind of like, you know what I mean? But like you kind of got to loosen out a bit to then understand what people are saying and like just be there properly. You know? So yeah, has a place.
Yeah. That's cool. It sounds like you get a lot out of it, and that it might not always be like in the moment actually, but like it threads throughout your life, and after you've had like a period of it, of like dancing or something, and then it comes into your life, then that stability and that systematic, like it feels easier.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you can live without reflection, honestly. Like having a time of, because you get too high up in your brain and you can't you just start looping into certain things and like you actually start doing things that are a bit like not you, and you're not really.
What do you mean too high up?
As in like, it's too far removed from yourself, where you wouldn't normally do that, but like you've like collected all these like, I don't know, feelings or systems where you're just like doing something in a certain way and then you start acting in a certain way which kind of like potentiates what you're doing, and then you like start acting in a way that's like really strange, and then like as soon as you kind of, I don't know, let's say go dancing, ground yourself some other way, you kind of like, you're like, wow, I was kind of crazy a second ago. But it's like I don't know.
Wow. So you can like reflect on where you've been, because you feel like you're coming more to baseline.
Yeah, because you get caught up in something.
Right.
You get caught up in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have to then get caught up in the present moment of dancing to release from
Yeah, exactly.
the caught up.
Because like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You can get caught up. And you just like become really rigid and like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it brings freedom and loosening.
Yes.
Unshackling the mind.
Unshackling the mind.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought it's so funny how, it's not funny, it's just interesting how when I think about you, I think of grounded, calm, systematic in thought. And then I'm like, how does that work with techno? So it was something I was really interested to ask you about, but now it all makes perfect sense.
It does.
So thank you for sharing.
All right.
Appreciate it. And thanks for being here. Thanks
Thank
for
you for
bringing
having
your
me.
special magic to the place. Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome, Amber.
Oh, thank you.
So, Amber, your femininity at first scared me. I didn't know how to embrace that, but I'm so glad you reappeared in my life at a time I felt more accepting to learn from. Have you always felt self-accepting of feminine energy yourself? And what has the path looked like for you?
Wow. That's an insane question to ask because I just pulled an oracle spread for myself.
Oh, yeah?
And it was about the consequences of me embracing my feminine side.
So you're prepared?
Yeah, like that's literally what I was just reflecting on, which is insane. Mm-hmm.
Doing things.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I suppose it's a multi-part answer, but well, it's actually kind of simple. Why? Because it's never been intentional. I just seem to have to receive that feedback from people.
Yeah.
At the same time, once I've started learning about like the feminine masculine dichotomy, I've started also consciously trying to nurture that aspect of myself at the same time, or more so nurture it, so bring it into my and intentionally practice like taking care of my feminine, but also recognizing its power. Because I feel like a lot of the time it's easy for me to feel like because I'm feminine I'm weak and like to this or to that, you know, like because that's sort of how, you know, sometimes we grew up thinking about being feminine.
Yeah, having connotations.
Yeah,
with it.
there was negative connotations. So yeah, it's been a journey of like receiving that feedback from people and then also being in me feeling this call to like, wait, also nurture it. Don't just like be like, oh yeah, okay, people say I have this feminine thing about me, but I also want to nurture it.
Yeah.
Intentionally.
Fully. So you think it's something that you've always had, and then recently or throughout your life people have been like, wow, you have a lot of feminine energy, and then that's made you question your feminine energy, and then you realize don't question it as much, just and also embrace it?
It was more that I suppose I did question it, to be honest, which is why I kept getting really surprised when multiple people would tell me this, because I'm like, really?
So you didn't see that in yourself? That you
Not
were really
really.
feminine?
Not really. But then I started seeing it because I was like, okay, what is this? What is this thing that they're talking about?
Yeah.
And then I started noticing certain ways that I think about life and the ways that I support myself and support others. I'm like, oh yes, that is feminine. And I enjoy that, and it comes very naturally.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I also feel like I have a lot of masculine. Like my masculine is very strong.
So what would you say your masculine aspects of
Like
your personality
I
is?
like to be rough.
Yeah.
Like I was telling you, if I like go and do sports,
Yeah.
if I like am in the surf or I go for a skate or like I'm doing, like I used to do kickboxing, there's this part of me that comes out where I'm just like, like I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Like there's just this like roughness sort of, and like get things, especially with my work, right?
Yeah.
Because like wouldn't have come as far as I did come, I think, without that masculine of like go and get it.
Yeah. Your discipline.
Yeah, like doesn't really matter how you're feeling right now, like go and do this thing.
Yeah.
Whereas I find the feminine is like, oh, embrace how you're feeling first and foremost. But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. No, I feel like I see that as well. It's also the feminine, I feel like, is more about the intentionality of the thing as well. It's like being creative and certain about and looking at all of the possibilities of why you're doing something. And then the masculine's okay, cool, now you have to choose and follow that one through or follow that thread through. Yeah, but I think it's interesting to see because when I first met you, and I didn't realize at the time that was why I was pushing connection away, was because I was like, whoa, she's so feminine, like I cannot embrace that.
I just
like,
assumed you just didn't like me.
It's I didn't, but it was because that you possess such a thing that I was running so far away from in myself.
And so what shifted for you to be like, oh, I can actually let that into my life?
I realized that I had like turned away a lot of my feminine qualities and negatively associated with them, and I thought that they were weaknesses, and I thought they didn't really have a place and that I should try and squish them to be my best self. And then I realized that like a lot of like when I was writing down a lot of like the qualities that I thought were good about myself, they were feminine.
Wow.
And I was like, hold on a second.
So before like reflecting on it, you thought that your idea of your best self like was not didn't have feminine qualities.
I just thought the parts of myself that were really the strongest and most useful were the masculine aspects of myself.
And then did you realize those were actually feminine,
And
or did you realize that there were other ones that
I realized there
feminine?
were other ones that were actually more beneficial and that were deeper and felt more true that I was trying to bypass with approaching it through like a masculine lens that was actually disrespecting myself in some ways as well. But then only through reflecting on that and then realizing how far my pushback on femininity spread in every aspect of my life and in my friendships, that I was like, I need feminine energy around me and I need to stop. Like, because actually when I'm looking at it, I don't have many feminine friends, or the ones that I do have, I think are less than my male friendships, and just like really considering all of that. And then, yeah, it was crazy because once I started to nurture my feminine trends and creative energy and my nurturing aspects, I felt like you came back into my life naturally because I was started doing the podcast and I wanted to talk to you. And that felt feminine.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was, and then from there we started to become more and more friends.
Like it's consequent. There is consequences of embracing your feminine, which is what the oracle just told me. There's certain aspects of your life that only I feel like flourish, or there's certain things that come into your life directly because you embraced femininity. Like for me, when I have certain guidance, like internal guidance, my internal compass is a lot sharper once I embrace the feminine more. Yeah, so I feel like there's great consequences, but again, you can't overdo it, right? Which is what I do sometimes. I overdo it on the feminine side.
I think we all have, everyone's slices of feminine and masculine energies are different and unique, and that's the way they're supposed to be. But finding like harmonious, some type of like synergy or harmony through the fluctuations is like helpful, because I don't think we don't want to be one or the other all the time, but we also have our more dominant traits, which some of them are more feminine, some of them are more masculine as well. And but I think watching you embrace, seemingly from my perspective, it's like you really embrace and understand that the way that you can speak and hold space and go about life feels so feminine and feels so like you're not concerned about anything else. You're just like, this is how I need to be and want to be, and that's who I am.
Totally. Someone was sort of making me question life's meanings a couple months back, and I stepped back and I was like, wait a second. I have developed this understanding of reality and life that actually serves me really well, and that has been developed through a lot of hardship. And a big part of that was the value that feminine qualities had for me, like intuition, caring for your contemplative practice, taking time for yourself. I realized that those things are really what got me through some of the hardest parts of my life. And they've shown me a way to be that's so, I don't want to say successful because of like successful in the way of what you think, like success is usually.
I mean, it's successful for you.
Yeah, like I've come through hardships. I've gained something from them. Even if it's like a lesson or a new reflection, a lot of the times that I was able to get through hard things and take something away from it that's been constructive was because I embraced my feminine qualities. And so, or because I was doing feminine things, I suppose. And so I think, I mean, you look at mothers, and mothers go through a lot. And they're like mothers are the matriarchs. Like, families are matriarchal. Like, the woman carries a lot. And I don't think without all of her feminine qualities and her embracing her feminine side, she would be able to do, mothers would be able to do everything that they do. And come out strong.
Definitely. I think a lot of it's also through, you were speaking about like intuition, but also like we had this conversation the other day about like the difference between like how men and women operate, and a lot of it's due to also like our hormonal systems of like like what period we're in, and then how we're having to always like think about life in kind of longer term than a lot of masculine, and how I feel like in like if I'm just drawing upon like Brendan and I's dynamic, Brendan, it feels like he's very in the day and he's very focused on what's in front of him and like one foot in front of the other, and he's here and he's grounded in this earth, and
Cross that bridge when I get there.
yeah,
So,
he's like, okay, that's all good, well and good, and he does also dabble, and we do talk about the future, and you know, can think about like 10 years and 5 years, but
that's not his tendency.
But that's not his tendency, and that's not what he has visions of constantly as well. It's like, or maybe he does, but I think that aspect of it is feminine, and that a lot of the time when we speak, I am calling upon him to think about the future and the ways that the visions and stuff come through, but then he does the opposite to me of like, where grounds me into this day, into this time.
It's funny that you say that, because I think that my first serious relationship was an extremely masculine guy, and I remember thinking, thank God I have this person in my life, because otherwise my head would be far up in the clouds. I'd be touching the sun at this point. I would have burnt my head off. Like I was so far up in, I suppose you could say it, I was in a feminine like daze. I was completely, I don't want to say daydreamy, but you get it, like flowy and whimsical and focused on mysticism very strongly, and art and dance, and without, I think, his presence in my life, which were my 13 to 18-year-old years, I would have, I don't know, sometimes I think I would have just disappeared into the
perished.
I know, I think I would have like I would have just danced myself into like the ether.
Right. Yeah.
Like I would have danced myself into oblivion.
You're just like floating on up.
Genuinely.
Dissolving. Yeah. Wow.
So.
I think it's also because we think of all the possibilities and can think of like, see the paths of, if you take this and then take that step and then take that step, like you can get to somewhere over here.
Yeah.
And that's very like creative energy and like very necessary. But I think, it's just acknowledging, I think, my rebellion from the feminine. I didn't see the value in the just like talking about like possibilities, and like I was like, well, we're not actually doing anything. It's like, but now realizing you need a direction to head in, and you want to spend time there, because otherwise you have no idea where you're going.
It's important to put possibilities into words, and I feel like possibilities, dreams, etc., and I feel like that can only really be done in a feminine moment, where you're actually honoring like all your kookiness and your dreams and your the soft feelings, and because then you can visualize them, and from visualizing you can put them down into words. But then what I find is, okay, you have your dreams and aspirations materialized on a piece of paper in front of you, and then the masculine needs to step in and be like, what are the steps I need to take
to
get there? Because it's not just thinking about it and like contemplating it that I'm going to get there, really. It's through planned steps, planned goals, and daily action.
100%.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a manifestation of somebody who has really taken the feminine and shown me like how beautiful and strong and massive, and I don't know, I just think you've changed a lot of the connotations for me, and it's been really healing.
Wow, that's such an honor to listen to. Yeah, feminine's very strong. Feminine is like, think of the lioness. The lioness is a creature to be feared. Like she's the one who reigns in her pack. Yeah, feminine is strong. They hold things together. Yeah, they hold things together, and I'm glad you. I don't know, it appeared in your life. Obviously, is a external reflection of your internal journeys.
I'm honored to have been a representation of something that's in you. But yeah, well, thanks for the question. It was crazy that it was my oracle.
That is really wild.
The oracle reading was literally the consequences of your feminine, of embracing your feminine. Interesting.
Do you feel like you talked about the consequences and embracing it? What does the path look like for you?
Well, I just realized that the oracle sort of made me reflect on it, because that's what those kinds of cards do, is that once you embrace your feminine, and which is why it's very interesting that you said that I appeared in your life after you started journeying with this, is that embracing your feminine has really real consequences in your life. And it sets things into motion. Why? Because I think that embracing your feminine has a lot to do, and I may sound crazy here, but has a lot to do with getting in touch with ancestry, with your guides, with soul contracts, all of that stuff that, all of the stuff that happens on the spiritual plane. I think you access that a lot easier through the feminine. And so once you embrace your feminine, honor that, and do some sort of ceremony or some sort of act to really activate the feminine energy, I suppose, in your life, things are set into motion in very powerful ways on a spiritual plane. So
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
It's okay if someone disagrees with me, but yeah, I think that.
It makes sense. Yeah. By acknowledging it, allowing it to be there, you can actually then reap what it has to offer.
Yeah, exactly. Like for me, once I honor my feminine, the first thing I feel like is my guides, like, whoop, hello.
Yeah.
Nice to see you here. We're about to do something, like we're about to be by your side for a while. And things are going to happen. And I'm like, okay.
Can you describe any of those interactions or?
Yeah, I suppose. I think, a big one came from my ayahuasca journey, because the main guide that I accessed or spoke to throughout the journey was a woman. And for the weeks after my ayahuasca journey, she was sort of always there, and we were always chatting. But it's funny, you think about it as a mother. It's like someone that's really nurturing and loving, but she's also not enabling you in some sort of way. She's like, hey, don't do that. It's not good for you. And so I feel like when I embrace my feminine, it's funny that I start having a more stern but loving view of myself, my decisions, my life.
So feminine maybe truly isn't about isn't all gentle, basically. It's actually very strong.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, think about the lioness. Think about the billions of mothers that have to go through so many hardships to take care. I always just think of a mother protecting their children. 100%. Like, she goes full Hulk. And that's feminine. Yeah. Like, that's her. I feel like at its extreme, the feminine is very strong. And so much so that it's enough to, front the masculine in terms of strength. And I think that's where some tension between masculine and, men and women sometimes occur, because it's like, you don't want to, it's, both can be in power, I think. Yeah. Both have a type of strength. They're different sorts of strength, I think, but they're both equally as powerful. Like, piss a woman off. It's scary. It's scary.
Yeah. It's protective energy. Yeah.
And it's fierce. It's like, do not cross me.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see you. The feminine has a lot of like, I can see what you're doing. I can see you. I read the situation.
Yeah, the intuition of it all.
Well, women are actually wired differently, right? Like, women have larger and more developed centers for verbal intelligence, or verbal reasoning and emotional intelligence. Objectively, that's what studies show.
Yeah.
So we have really accurate reads on situations. And then I think that's where a lot of our power comes from, because we can see all the pieces moving and we're like, I know what to do here.
Yeah.
And here's.
Yeah, which relates with the manifestation and like being able to see into the future and seeing the paths
Totally.
and what actions will lead where.
Yeah, I think women have through their intuition, and I'm not saying just women, but the feminine
energy.
The feminine manifestation really looks like bird's eye view on like deeper sort of meanings of life. Like we can hold them easier. We can hold the contemplation a bit easier. It's like, what are the deeper meanings in life more comfortably? Because we have that skill.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I suppose the feminine is that skill. But there's lots of beautiful things about the feminine which makes me sad about the negative connotations, like, and
yeah,
it's so
it's just a reconsidering of like, where is those things coming from actually, and the connotations. And I think sometimes when I think of feminine, I think of reactive, and I think that really it's just like protective of something. Like there's a reason for that. So it's just looking at it a little bit deeper and realizing that there's layers to it, and why is it actually appearing.
And usually when a woman reacts, because she's mulled and thought about that thing for a very long time, and she's sort of she's like ready to put it out, and we're all like, actually, nope, that's my boundary. Yeah. Because I've seen it, I've reflected on it enough, and I'm actually finally at the point where I'm like, nope, that's not okay.
Yeah.
Step back, sir. Step right back. Yeah.
I'm excited to keep learning from you.
Oh, ditto.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for the conversation.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you for
me
your
once
magical energy.
again. Oh, says
Thank
you.
you.
Miss
Thank you.
Magic.
Appreciate it.
The most magical person I know, at least.
Thank you.
Really nice. Thank you so much for that cutie little reflection and love.
It's okay.
This is how we connected. This is how we're gonna end.
Thanks, Mari. Appreciate it.
Aw,
You did amazing.